Have you ever been blindsided at work? One minute you're getting praise for a project, and the next you're being told to pack up your desk? That's exactly what happened to me 6 months ago. My boss, the newly appointed VP of Operations, called me into his office on a Friday afternoon. I thought we were going to discuss the quarterly numbers I'd just submitted. Instead, he slid a termination letter across his desk. "Low performance," he said coldly. But here's the twist. The board of directors didn't agree with his assessment, and what happened next changed not only my career, but the entire company. Stay with me to hear how this corporate nightmare turned into the most unexpected victory of my professional life. Welcome to Dismissal Diaries, where I share real stories of workplace injustice and how people fought back. I'm passionate about exposing toxic work environments and helping you recognize the warning signs before it's too late. Before I dive into my personal battle with a power-hungry executive who tried to destroy my career, make sure you subscribe to Dismissal Diaries for more stories that will help you navigate office politics and protect your professional reputation. Hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss any strategies that could save your career someday. It all started about 18 months ago when our beloved COO announced her retirement. Janet had been with the company for 23 years and was respected by everyone. She was fair, knowledgeable, and had an open-door policy that made even the newest employees feel valued. I had worked directly under her for 5 years as the Director of Project Management, overseeing a team of 12 project managers, handling our most significant client accounts. Our quarterly reviews consistently showed that my department exceeded targets, and employee satisfaction surveys ranked us in the top 3 departments company-wide. Janet and I had a great working relationship. She trusted my judgment and gave me the autonomy to run my department as I saw fit, while always being available when I needed guidance. When Janet announced her retirement, rumors immediately began circulating about her replacement. Most of us assumed Rebecca, the Senior Director of Operations, would step into the role. She had been Janet's right hand for years and knew the company inside and out. But the CEO had other plans. To everyone's surprise, he hired Marcus Phillips from outside the company. Marcus came from a competitor with a reputation for aggressive cost-cutting and high employee turnover. At the company-wide meeting where he was introduced, Marcus spoke about streamlining operations and eliminating inefficiencies. Red flags immediately went up for many of us. But we tried to remain optimistic. Within his first month, Marcus had already made significant changes. He implemented a new time tracking system that required employees to account for every 15 minutes of their workday. He eliminated flexible work arrangements that had been in place for years, and he initiated a performance review overhaul that seemed designed to find fault rather than recognize achievements. I tried to adapt to Marcus's management style, but we clashed almost immediately. During my first one-on-one meeting with him, he questioned nearly every decision I had made over the past quarter, decisions that had led to a 15% increase in client retention and a 12% increase in profitability for my department. "Your approach is too client-focused," he told me. "We need to prioritize efficiency and cost-cutting." I respectfully disagreed, explaining that our client-focused approach was precisely what had driven our success. Our high-touch service model is why clients stay with us, despite higher price points than our competitors, I explained. Marcus leaned back in his chair and looked at me with what I can only describe as contempt. That might have been Janet's philosophy, but things are changing around here. That conversation set the tone for our working relationship. Over the next several months, Marcus systematically undermined my authority with my team. He would schedule meetings with my direct reports without including me. He would contradict decisions I had made, causing confusion among my team members. And he began excluding me from leadership meetings where decisions affecting my department were made. Despite this, I continued to perform. My team hit all our targets for the quarter, and client satisfaction remained high. But I could feel the situation deteriorating. Several of my team members came to me privately, expressing concern about the changes Marcus was implementing and asking if their jobs were secure. I tried to reassure them while dealing with my own growing anxiety. Then came the pivotal project that would later become the center of everything. We landed Horizon Technologies, a client we had been pursuing for years. This was a major win for the company, a 3-year contract worth over $15 million. As director of a project management, I would normally lead the implementation team for a client of this size. But Marcus had other ideas. In a leadership meeting, one I was actually invited to, he announced that he would personally oversee the Horizon implementation. "This is too important to leave to the standard process," he said, looking directly at me. I felt a chill run down my spine. This was a direct insult to me and my team, implying we weren't capable of handling our most significant accounts. But I maintained my professionalism. "I'd be happy to discuss how my team can support this implementation," I offered. "That won't be necessary," Marcus replied dismissively. "I'll assemble a special task force for this." After the meeting, I emailed Marcus requesting a private conversation about the Horizon account. He ignored my email. I sent a follow-up the next day. Again, no response. Finally, on the 3rd day, I received a terse reply. "Implementation plan already in progress. Your input not required at this time." I was deeply concerned, not just for my own position, but for the success of the Horizon onboarding. I had been part of dozens of enterprise implementations and knew the pitfalls that could derail even the most promising client relationship. But Marcus had made it clear that my input wasn't welcome. Over the next few weeks, I heard troubling rumors about the Horizon implementation. Team members who had been pulled into Marcus's task force reported chaos and poor planning. Timeline milestones were being missed. Horizon's technical requirements weren't being properly addressed. But whenever I tried to offer assistance, I was rebuffed. 4 weeks into the implementation, the inevitable happened. I received a panicked call from Sarah, one of my senior project managers who had been assigned to Marcus's task force. "It's a complete disaster," she whispered into the phone. "Horizon's CTO just walked out of the progress meeting. They're threatening to cancel the contract." My heart sank. This was exactly what I had feared. "What happened?" I asked. "Marcus promised features that aren't in our development roadmap for at least 6 months. He committed to timelines that are impossible to meet. And worst of all, he tried to blame the technical team when Horizon pointed out the discrepancies between what they were promised and what's being delivered." I thanked Sarah for the information and spent the rest of the day weighing my options. I knew that if Horizon walked away, it would be devastating for the company, not just financially, but reputationally as well. Word travels fast in our industry, and losing a client of this caliber under these circumstances would make other potential clients wary. After much consideration, I decided I had to go above Marcus. I scheduled a meeting with our CEO, David Chen. David and I had always had a good relationship, though we didn't work together directly very often. He had always respected my work and had personally congratulated me on several successful client implementations in the past. When I sat down in David's office the next morning, I was careful to stick to the facts. I didn't criticize Marcus personally, but focused on the issues with the Horizon implementation and my concerns about losing the client. I presented a rescue plan that I believed could salvage the relationship. David listened intently, taking notes as I spoke. When I finished, he looked troubled. "This is the first I'm hearing about problems with Horizon," he said. "Marcus has been reporting that everything is on track." "I'm afraid that's not the case," I replied. "You can verify what I'm saying with the technical team or with Sarah, who's been in all the Horizon meetings." David nodded. "I'll look into this immediately. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. I left feeling cautiously optimistic. David had always been a reasonable leader who valued transparency. I hoped he would see the situation clearly and take action to save the Horizon account. My optimism was short-lived. The very next day, I was called into Marcus's office. The moment I walked in, I could see the fury on his face. "You went over my head," he hissed, not even waiting for me to sit down. "How dare you undermine me with David?" "I'm concerned about the Horizon implementation," I replied calmly. "We're on the verge of losing a $15 million client. That impacts all of us." "That is not your concern," he snapped. "You've been looking for ways to sabotage me since I arrived. You're loyal to Janet's outdated way of doing things, and you can't accept change." I was stunned by the accusation. "This isn't personal, Marcus. It's about doing what's best for the company and our clients." "Well, here's what's best for the company," he said, sliding a folder across his desk. "Your termination paperwork, effective immediately." I stared at the folder in disbelief. "On what grounds?" "Low performance," he said with a smirk. "Failure to adapt to new management directives." "Insubordination." "Take your pick." My hands trembled as I opened the folder. The termination letter cited consistent failure to meet performance expectations and inability to embrace company direction. It was so far from the truth that it was almost laughable, except there was nothing funny about being fired from a job I had excelled at for years. "This is completely unfounded," I said. "My performance reviews have been stellar for 5 consecutive years. My department exceeds targets quarter after quarter. You can't just fabricate performance issues to fire me." "I'm your direct supervisor," Marcus replied coldly. "My assessment of your performance is what matters now. HR has already approved the termination. Security will escort you to clean out your desk." As promised, a security guard appeared at the door. I was in such a state of shock that I barely remember gathering my belongings. My team watched in horror as I was escorted out of the building like a criminal. The humiliation was overwhelming. That evening, as I sat in my living room trying to process what had happened, my phone rang. It was Rebecca, the senior director who everyone had expected would replace Janet. "I heard what happened," she said. "This is completely unjust, and you need to fight it." "How?" I asked. "Marcus has clearly convinced HR that I'm underperforming." "Not everyone is convinced," Rebecca replied. "Several members of the leadership team are concerned about Marcus's management style and decisions, and the Horizon situation has raised serious red flags with David. Don't give up yet." Rebecca's call gave me a glimmer of hope, but I was still reeling from the shock of being fired. The next day, I received calls from 3 of my former team members, all expressing outrage at my termination and offering to speak up on my behalf. Sarah told me that the Horizon situation had deteriorated further, with the client now demanding daily calls with senior leadership. 4 days after my termination, I received an unexpected email from Elaine Watson, a member of the company's board of directors. I had presented to the board several times over the years and had always received positive feedback, but I was surprised to hear from her directly. "I've heard troubling things about your departure." Her email read, "The board has questions about recent management decisions. Would you be willing to speak with me confidentially?" I agreed immediately, and we arranged to meet at a coffee shop far from the office the following day. When I arrived, I was surprised to find not just Elaine, but 2 other board members as well. "Thank you for meeting with us," Elaine began. "We want to hear your side of the story." For the next hour, I detailed my experiences with Marcus, the issues with the Horizon implementation, and the circumstances of my termination. I provided documentation, emails, performance reviews, client satisfaction scores that contradicted the low performance claim used to justify my firing. The board members listened attentively, occasionally asking clarifying questions. When I finished, Elaine exchanged glances with her colleagues. "This aligns with other concerns that have been brought to our attention," she said. "Several key employees have resigned in the past 2 weeks. Client complaints have increased dramatically. And this morning, we received word that Horizon has officially terminated their contract." I felt a pang of sadness about Horizon, even though I was no longer with the company. That account had represented so much potential. "We called this meeting because the board has scheduled an emergency session to review Marcus's performance and decisions," Elaine continued. "We would like you to prepare a formal statement that we can present during that session." I was floored. The board was taking this seriously enough to potentially take action against a C-suite executive they had hired less than a year ago. Over the next 2 days, I prepared a detailed statement documenting my experiences and concerns. I was careful to remain factual and professional, focusing on business impacts rather than personal grievances. I submitted the document to Elaine as requested, and then waited anxiously. 3 days later, my phone rang. It was David Chen, the CEO. "I owe you an apology," he said without preamble. "The board meeting was yesterday, and it's clear that you were terminated unjustly." My heart raced. What happened at the meeting? "The board reviewed your statement, along with reports from multiple department heads and client complaints. They concluded that Marcus has been making decisions detrimental to the company. His termination was effective as of this morning." I sat down, stunned into silence. "There's more," David continued. "The board has recommended your immediate reinstatement, should you be willing to return. With a promotion to the position Marcus was clearly not qualified for." "Huh. You want me to come back as COO?" I could hardly believe what I was hearing. "Yes," David confirmed. "Your track record speaks for itself. Your department's success, your client relationships, your leadership style. These are the qualities we need in a COO. Janet recommended you as her successor before she left, but the board was swayed by Marcus's flashy presentation and industry reputation. That was clearly a mistake." I was overwhelmed. From fired to COO in less than 2 weeks, it was almost impossible to process. "Can I have a day to think about it?" I asked. "Of course," David replied. "But there's one more thing you should know. The board has approved a substantial settlement for the wrongful termination. It includes back pay, a formal apology, and compensation for the distress caused. You'll be entitled to that settlement whether you choose to return or not." After hanging up, I sat in silence for several minutes. The vindication was sweet, but I needed to carefully consider whether returning to the company was the right move. I called a few trusted colleagues, including Rebecca and Janet, to get their perspectives. Janet was emphatic. "They finally came to their senses," she said. "You were always my choice for successor. The board just took a detour before reaching the right destination." Rebecca was equally supportive. "The energy in the office completely changed when people heard Marcus was out, and you might be coming back. There's hope again." By the next morning, I had made my decision. I called David and accepted the position. We agreed I would start the following Monday, giving the company time to prepare an announcement and giving me time to mentally prepare for my return. Walking back into the office that Monday was surreal. People I passed in the hallway broke into spontaneous applause. My former team had decorated my new office with welcome back signs. Even employees I barely knew stopped by to express their happiness at my return. My first official act as COO was to reach out to Horizon Technologies. I didn't expect them to reconsider after terminating the contract, but I felt they deserved a formal apology from the company. To my surprise, their CEO agreed to meet with me. During that meeting, I took full responsibility for the company's failures in the implementation process. Even though I hadn't been involved, I presented a new implementation plan that addressed all their concerns and offered 6 months of services at no cost as compensation for the troubles they had experienced. "Your reputation in the industry is stellar," Horizon's CEO said after reviewing my proposal. "Several of our team members were confused when you weren't involved in our implementation. Now we understand why." 2 days later, Horizon agreed to reinstate their contract. It was the first victory of my tenure as COO, but certainly not the last. The 6 months since then have been challenging but rewarding. I've worked to rebuild trust with employees and clients alike. I've reinstated many of the employee-friendly policies that Marcus had eliminated, and I've implemented new protocols to ensure that client promises are realistic and deliverable. But perhaps the most significant change has been in the company culture. Where Marcus fostered fear and competition, I've worked to create collaboration and transparency. Employees now know that their voices will be heard, that their concerns matter, and that performance is evaluated fairly. Our latest employee satisfaction survey showed the highest scores in the company's history. Client retention is up 17%, and just last month, we landed a contract even larger than Horizon, a client who specifically cited our company culture and client-focused approach as key factors in their decision. The experience of being unjustly fired, of having my professional reputation questioned and my contributions dismissed, was painful. But in retrospect, it exposed serious issues within the company that might have otherwise gone unaddressed. Sometimes it takes a crisis to reveal the truth and create an opportunity for positive change. This experience taught me that standing up for what's right in the workplace, even when it's difficult, even when it seems hopeless, can lead to unexpected outcomes. If you're facing unfair treatment at work, remember that documentation is your best friend. Keep records of your accomplishments, save emails that demonstrate your value, and maintain professional relationships with colleagues who can verify your contributions. My story had a positive ending, but not everyone is so fortunate. That's why communities like this one are so important. They provide support, validation, and practical advice for navigating difficult workplace situations. If you've experienced something similar or want to share your own dismissal story, leave a comment below. Your experience might help someone else who's going through something similar right now. And if you found value in my story, please subscribe to Dismissal Diaries for more real-life accounts of workplace injustice and how people fought back. Each week we share strategies for protecting yourself in toxic work environments and standing up for what's right. Hit that subscribe button now, and let's build a community that supports workplace fairness and accountability. Until next time, remember, your worth isn't determined by one person's flawed assessment. It's demonstrated through your consistent actions, integrity, and impact.